Hi everyone, today we're going to show you how to set up a budget for someone who has $3,000 a month in income. So what does that look like? It looks like $3,000 a month equates to around $36,000 a year or $750 per week. So what we're going to look at first things first, we're going to take a big deep breath. We're going to not be over analytical. We're going to try and move quickly through this. First things you need to go and do, step 2 is go and search for your receipts. It's going to take some bravery to do that and actually face and look at the numbers, because the numbers are going to scare you. That's a given. Otherwise you wouldn't be wanting to know how to budget. But once you get into a rhythm, it can be quite fun. List your expenses and also list all the income that you have as well. Step 3, it can be a little bit painful, but try and look back over through your bank to see the transactions that you've made and look for those items that are reoccurring either through the month or annually or per quarter. The other helpful item for budgeting is knowing when your expenses are due, and that's just to make sure that when you are putting things in order, that you haven't forgotten them, and 2, that you can sort of plan to make sure that you have enough money to cover them without having to go over or going into the red. So we're going to get to know your expenses, check if they come around monthly, weekly, yearly or quarterly. Now I'm going to recommend the EveryDollar app for this exercise. You can either use it as the app on your phone or an iPad or a tablet. If you happen to have an iPhone or an Apple device, you should be able to download it in most countries. But if you're on an Android, I know here in Australia we can't download it. It's not available in our country. So the other option is to use the desktop version, which means if you've got a computer, then you can open it up, sign up to get a free account and use it there. So what we're going to look for are 4 items for your budget. Your income, as I said before, list all your income and any bonuses that you're expecting for the month or the year. Also your expenses, make sure you list all expenses, list their due dates and the frequency. That'll help you. Now savings, for the first bit, if we have still got debt, we're going to save for an emergency fund of $1,000, and that'll just help us from going into the red. When an emergency arises, we're not looking to use it just because we want an extra pair of pants that look great or shoes. We actually need to keep that aside for an emergency so you don't have to go into debt to get yourself out of that emergency, say your washing machine breaks down. And giving. So this is probably not part of everyone's budget, but it's really, I think, helpful to start thinking of giving some of your money away and getting you into that good habit of assisting others. So look for something that you're passionate about and is a good cause. I've just recently thought about buying a certain portion of my that I've set aside for donations as food, because my local supermarket has got bins there collecting non-perishable food, so I'm going to do that this month. But you can change it up or you can keep it regular. So what we're going to do within our budgeting app, we're just going to add every item that's an expense as a line item and make sure we are listing them, even if we don't think they should be, including our debts. Actually, that was the other thing. Your expense is a debt. And then we're going to arrange them in date order so that we can make sure that we've got enough money to capture them next time. So we're going to go over to the budgeting app now. Now, just to start, now when you go to everydollar.com, you will be asked to create a new account if you're not already a member of Ramsay. So you go through the steps, verify with your email, and then you'll be prompted to answer a few questions about what you're planning to do with your budget, i.e. you're going to get yourself out of debt and stop living paycheck to paycheck, and then just give a few little details, whether you're married, whether you've got kids, whether you own a car, whether you own a house, or whether you're renting, and that just helps them set up the screen in the background there that you can see. So we'll go through there now, just showing you how to add line items and your income, and then how to put your debt at the bottom so that you can start budgeting. So at the top of the page, you'll have your monthly check. So we're going to presume for this example that we get 2 paychecks once every fortnight that total $3,000. So now we've got $3,000 to budget. If you're part of a church, then you may feel like giving to church. The giving item is at the top of the budget. It's just a Ramsey thing, and something I think has got a lot of value, because we often do think of ourselves a lot and not thinking about, in hard times, how other people help us. We have here our plans to save up for our emergency fund, and then we can start adding. These are sort of default standards. So we've got our housing items, transportation, food, restaurants. That one I just added in before. So you can delete them, you can pick them up and move them accordingly. As I mentioned before, knowing the dates is very helpful. You may have 2, depending on your frequency. But normally, so for groceries, you'll just keep doing that one accumulative. So you might have phone, might be $50 a month. Well, we better put in the most important items. We might have $1,700 in rent or mortgage. So we've got $1,250 to live on for the whole month. Our food might be $600 a month. It gives us $650. We really don't have much in the way of wiggle room on $300. So over here we may have a car loan, or in America they call it a car note. Auto current balance might be $12,000. Minimum payment is $200. Interest rate might be 7%. And the original balance, you can pop that in there, but you don't have to. So you add your debt, it'll create a new line item, and then you can say how much you're planning to pay off. So whether it's $350 a month. Now we've got $300 to live on, so we have a very tight budget. So we are not going, we might spend $50 on petrol. Electricity might be $50. Water might be $50. And you'll see that it's quite a tight budget, not a lot of wiggle room. Entertainment. So the other thing you should have is a miscellaneous column. And the miscellaneous column captures everything that you hadn't anticipated. So if you forgot something that comes around once every 2 months, then that will help you so it helps set aside some money for emergency sort of expenses that you hadn't anticipated, and helps you stay on budget rather than going to debt to cover those items that come as an emergency. You'll see now every single dollar has been given a job. So we come in here, you'll see on the right hand side, you've got your what it is, how much is there, and then you can set the date. So maybe it's due on the 7th. Set it as a due date. You can say it comes every month. You'll see it's due the 7th of May. And then when it does roll around to the 7th, you can say and select, oh yes, on the 7th I paid $800. You'll see here the remainder on that account will show you there's 900 remaining. It's quite good like that. Otherwise, you can say how much you've spent. So everything in green is the amounts you've spent. And then when you get paid, you can pop in that you got paid $1,500 and on the date, so we'll say the first of the month. And track your income. The iPad version looks different, but it's essentially the same, not as many things. So when we're coming along, you'll see that you'll track this during the month, and if you can get in a habit, track it every day, every week, just to check in and make sure you're on track. And then next week you can start, or next month you can start planning ahead. It will ask you whether you want to copy over items in May, so it's a good idea from the previous month, I mean. So it's a good idea to chop out things that aren't relevant to you. Some things we don't have, maybe pet care you don't have. So you can take items out, give dates to these, just click on them, set a due date, and every month you can select that as well, make it repeat, and then you'll have the dates. And then you can shuffle them around. So maybe entertainment comes before, let me say the due date was the 14th, and that just helps you to plan. But if you add more items, I don't know, what else do people do? And that's due on the first of the month. Then you can pick it up on the side. There's 6 little dots there, and you click and drag, and that's it. And that's how you set up a budget, essentially. And then it's about the emotional. I think Ramsey Solutions always say, oh, I'm $10 over budget, I'm going to have to cut back somewhere. So if that's the case, we come back and we cut some from somewhere else. So this is where you start managing your money. So I take $10 away from miscellaneous, and now it's back to an every dollar budget, and that makes sure that we are on track and we don't get sidetracked. So once you've done your budget and you're happy with it, it can be rather daunting and scary, but they say that it will take you at least 3 months to get some sort of traction where you're actually feeling like you're getting into a good rhythm and that you're starting to succeed at it. First couple of months can be all over the place just because you haven't anticipated everything, and that's okay. It's not a failure. Don't look at it and run away and say, I'm never doing that again. I suck at doing finances, because you actually can do it, and I know you can do it. So that's how to start setting up a $3,000 budget. Under those conditions, it is very hard. There's not a lot of margin, so there are a couple of things. So the amount of rent in that example was more than 50% of the take-home pay for that month, which sort of has ding, ding, ding alarms going, meaning that it's expensive. So you might want to look at either alternative accommodation, or if you have the opportunity to room share rooms with others, just to bring the cost of the rent down for you. Otherwise, yeah, it's probably about reassessing what accommodation options you have to allow yourself to have more margin. But in saying that too, if you've got a lot of debt and you need to get out of it, the recommendation is to take on some side hustles to get yourself some quick cash to knock off these debts and give you more margin so that you're actually moving forward instead of just treading water in the same place and almost drowning. So thank you. If you want me to go through your budget anonymously, of course we won't let everybody know who you are. But if you want me to try and put it on screen and or work with you on it, just to show some real life examples, then send me a message at sheslaysingray at gmail.com. And thank you for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more money tips to help us all be debt free and actually get ahead of the game, because the way society's set up is for us to all remain in debt ad infinitum. So we're just slaves to this debt game. So we can get out of it, and I have lots of hope that you can too. All right, see you next time. Thank you.